So I saw Ready or Not 2 Here I Come at the theaters. Now I was really excited for this movie. I love the first Ready or Not. It was one of my favorite horror movies that came out whatever year that first one came out in. I thought the first one was great. And I'll be honest, the first one didn't really need a sequel. And I don't mind if you do a unnecessary sequel. Like to me, I'm always like, well, if someone comes on with a really cool idea to do a sequel and they have a really great story or something interesting to do, then I'm all for it. I found myself disappointed in this sequel though, and this felt like one of those sequels that felt like it was trying to force this existence when it comes to the story of the movie. Like to me, the first one ends in a great way, and that surprise you're like, oh damn, that curse was actually real, and then when it all explode and blow up, and it's all bloody. I thought that was a great ending to that first movie. I was like, oh damn, that curse is actually real. And I felt I felt like to me it wrapped up, so there was only like an obvious story direction to go with the sequel. And with this one, this just felt like the first one but bigger. And it to me with this one, it felt like they leaned more into into like being over the top and being a comedy when it comes to how ridiculous this is getting. The first movie had like dark, fun humor moments in that one. The first one though felt balanced to me, and I felt the humor in the first one was much more funny. A lot of the humor in this one didn't really work for me. And look, I don't think this is a bad movie. Ready or Not 2 Here I Come. I think this is a perfectly watchable, okay, decent sequel. I just found myself disappointed compared to how great that first one was. Let me get into the positives with this movie. I think the cast do a great job. So, the main actress who plays character Grace, Semi Weaver, which I'm probably not pronouncing her name wrong. I think she's great in this movie. You know, I still really like the character. I don't think she's quite as interesting a character in this as she was in the first movie, personally. I still think she's great in the movie. Kathy Newton, who I really like her as an actress too. I think she's good in this movie. She's fine. I can't really say I really cared about her character. She was just, for me, she was okay in this movie. She did a good job. I just never really gotten too invested in her character. So I did sort of buy them as sisters when it came in the banta at times. I do have a negative with the sister relationship in this movie where I just wasn't a fan of the writing for it. Michelle Go, I thought she was great in this movie. I'm a big fan of her, and I do love the moment where she you see her using a weapon that's similar to a stake. So you see stab the main character and like the top soldier. I can't remember if it's the left. I can't remember if it's the left or right side. I thought that was a great little callback to her days as a vampire slayer on the Buffy show, Michelle Gellar, because it kind of reminded me of like her weapon kind of looks kind of like a stake. Now she would like stab a vampire. So I thought that was a cool little nod there. And Elijah Wood, I thought his character was fun. I do think you could have used him more. He's just there for exposition dumps pretty much. And rest of the cast, like they do a good job. Like I think overall the cast do a great job in this movie. And there's some moments where I was like that, that was fun enough. And that's really about it with this movie. Yeah, a lot of the humor didn't really work for me in this movie. The first movie had humor, believe it or not. It had like dark moments of humor. The first movie though, the humor I found funny. This movie, one of the problems I have with this sequel is that it leans so far into ridiculousness. And it feels like this movie feels more comedic and over the top than the first movie in a way that didn't really work for me personally. There's a lot of times in this movie where the jokes felt completely flat in this movie for me. And the tone of this movie just didn't feel balanced like the first movie. The first movie felt like it had a great balance of being serious, fun, like a little bit over the top, but still believable in the first movie. This movie, it just felt like it got so ridiculous and the tone went so far into like goofiness that for me it pulled me out. And other than that, really, why the tone hurt the movie for me is because the first movie you felt tension in the first movie. You felt like okay, this is dangerous. Like when she's trying to sneak around the house in that first movie because it's in one location, you feel the tension in that first movie. Like, oh yeah, she can be killed at any second. In this movie, the tension is just gone. And this movie feels like it's basically just the first movie, but a bigger version of that movie. Like it doesn't really do anything new that you didn't already get in the first movie. And this movie just feels like one of those sequels that feels unnecessary. Like they're trying to force a sequel with the story, and it just feels like they didn't have a really compelling story to do, to do a sequel. It just feels like you're just kind of repeating beats from the first one, but on a bigger on a larger movie on a bigger size. So I don't feel like the plot did anything particularly new that the first one didn't do. And this movie leads into the more into the cult stuff, which I'll be honest didn't really work for me. The third act I think is pretty predictable. That's another thing. The plot of this movie is pretty predictable. One of the things about the first movie is that when you see the ending of that first movie, it was a surprise ending. 'Cause you're like, oh damn, that curse is actually real. Throughout that whole entire first movie, you're thinking, oh, this curse can't be real. Really, they're gonna like the spirit of this guy. They're all gonna blow up if they don't do this. So you were surprised. The ending was a great surprise in the first movie. First movie. In this movie, there's really no surprises. And the cool stuff is pretty predictable in this movie. But I feel like I've seen this done in other movies. And the family in this movie, the multiple families, and some multiple families trying to hunt her and her sister down. The characters are fine. I didn't find any of the families to be as fun and as funny as a family in the first movie. I also think sometimes going bigger in sequels isn't always the best idea. And this is one of those times where I felt like going bigger didn't work for me. Where it was like this movie went so much bigger with the fact you had them outside now and running around and in different like spots that what I really loved about the first movie was that it wasn't one location. It made that was one of the things that made the tension even work more in that first movie is that it was like she's not like she's not outside in different spots of this area. So I just felt like going bigger was a mistake in this sequel where I don't mind when sequels go bigger if you can do it well and still have an engaging plot, characters and all that. In this movie, it felt like that was one of the other things that took away the tension. And also, there was times in this movie where it was asking me to suspend my disbelief too much. There were times in this movie I was just like, okay, she's getting really lucky how her and her sister is surviving. The first movie, I never felt like it was like I had to suspend my disbelief. It never felt like I never felt like it took me out where I was like, oh man, she survived that. In the first movie, it felt believable how she was surviving that movie. In this movie, it feels very unbelievable. Like there are times in this movie, I was like, she just got extremely lucky, her and her sister, which I thought was just a little, which just leads into some of the goofiness of the movie that didn't really work for. Also, the reason that because they introduced that she has a sister in this movie, and Kathy Newson's character, she's playing a sister. The whole like drama between the two sisters in this movie, I thought was dumb. The reason for why they're mad at each other, I was like, really, this is the reason? This. I was just like, this is just not. I just didn't find this drama between the sisters at all interesting. It also like hurt the pacing of the movie. There was times where they would just stop to talk about the drama between these two sisters to talk to each other about the drama, why they haven't talked to each other or seen each other for years. I was like, I don't care. The way it's written isn't very interesting, and the pacing of the movie stops just for them to go talk about the drama, and that would be like fine with me if you made it interesting and also the fact it wasn't like you weren't doing it so much in this movie. There was so many times they would just stop and have these sisters like pass out the drama, and I'll be like, you have these people chasing, trying to kill you. These people are chasing you, trying to kill you, and the movie has to stop to go through the drama these sisters had. And I was just like, like to me, the first movie had a great pace to it. It had a tight pace to it. In this movie, I felt like the pacing didn't wasn't as didn't work as well, and I just felt like the movie had to stop. The movie would just stop a couple of times to like have the sisters talk to each other about hash out the drama, and I just felt like the reasoning wasn't very interesting why they were mad at each other. Like I think the chemistry between them was fine. Like I bought them as sisters enough. I can't say I ever felt invested in the relationship as sisters though in this movie. And Kat Newton, I think she's does good for what she's given in this movie. I just didn't I never felt attached to a character all that much. And all the families again, they just won't. I just felt like the families weren't that interesting. Like I feel like the one family that was trying to kill in the first movie, I felt like you got to know that family in that first movie. You got to spend time with that family. You get to know each family member and who they were, and how they were personality wise. In this movie, I just feel like you don't really get to know since there's multiple families trying to kill in this one now. I feel like you don't spend a whole lot of time getting to know these families. Whereas I felt like the first movie, since it was just one family, you really got to spend time with each family member. Like you had the actor from who was in the OC show, where you had him in that first movie, like not you can see he's struggling, that he's not completely okay with what his family is doing and what he has to do. So I like how in the first movie, the one family that was trying to kill, you actually spend some time get to know the family members. They all have like distinct personalities to them. In this movie, since this movie's going bigger and a laws of scale, and it's multiple families, I feel like they all just aren't very interesting character wise to me. Like the one I like the most was Michelle Gellar out of all the families that were chasing them out of those characters. Even with her though, she wasn't the most interesting character for me. It was more because of the actress. And the third act goes very like where it goes is very predictable. Another problem I have with this movie is that since this movie's going bigger and going laws on scale with the story and everything, I feel like they were just like as the movie goes along, they would just make up these rules out of nowhere. The first movie had tiny bit of rules. It felt like in this movie they just had so many times they would just throw out a rule randomly, and I'll just be like, really? It just feels like you're just throwing rules against you're just pulling these rules out of your ass in this movie at times. And this movie felt like it just kept coming up with rules and rules. And I was like, okay, this is starting to get really convoluted, and I feel like you're not really like you didn't think these rules through when you were writing a script for this movie. So overall, I just think this was a mediocre sequel. I don't think it's bad. Like I would compare the sequel to how I felt about Black Phone 2, which I thought was mediocre. It's an okay sequel. It's watchable. I can totally understand why this movie has I think a 75% on Rotten Tomatoes with critics, and I can see why it has like I think in the 90s. Correct me in the comments if I'm wrong about this, but I think it has an audience score in the 90s. Like I can see why people would have fun with this movie. For me personally, though, I felt like this was a sequel that felt like it was trying to force this existence. Like it didn't feel like to me like they had a really compelling idea for a sequel, and this movie does nothing really new that the first one didn't. And I feel like the first one did everything better. I feel like the first one had a better plot. I felt like the characters were more interesting in the first movie. I felt like the tone was balanced in the first movie. It felt tighter. The pacing in the first movie I thought was better. I just feel like the first movie did everything better, and this just felt to me like just a mediocre sequel, and they just made it because just to make it. And for me, it's just kind of like I just found myself disappointed in the sequel. So overall, I thought it was okay, not terrible, not a bad sequel, just a disappointing, mediocre sequel in my opinion. So that's my thoughts on Ready or Not 2. Here I come. Until next time, movie fans.